What's happening, YouTube? Hope you enjoy the background footage here. It's Call of Duty Ghosts with a realism reshade mod installed. Makes it look nice and shiny. Why Call of Duty Ghosts? Because it's a guilty pleasure. It's shit, but I like it anyways. Wait, I shouldn't swear when the video starts. That might push it down in the algorithm. Oh well. Um, I like PC gaming for that reason, that you can add mods and play around with the game, although I do like console gaming as well. I'm currently doing a Bloodborne series on the PS5 on this channel. Check that out. I got new Let's Play episodes that are gonna drop this week, if you're into that. Anyways, today I want to talk about why we shouldn't worry about the coming video game crash. Actually, I would say that it's already happening. It's just that the crash is more of a consistent decline than one single event. I think history will look at it as basically this 9th gen of consoles as a whole being a period of major layoffs, studio closures, and corporate greed catching up to the biggest publishers and platforms, and unfortunately the employees paying the price. And consumers. Those ran prices, but that's a separate thing, kind of. So, firstly, I want to say that when I talk about this crash being ultimately good, I know that each individual layoff is a person's whole life and livelihood being seriously disrupted. Trust me when I say I'm not forgetting that, and I'm as mad as you are every time I see a company like Microsoft, which maintains about a $23 billion quarterly net profit. Not revenue, not gross operating profit, net profit. As in, after all expenses are factored in, $23 billion. Sometimes 22, sometimes 24. And when they announce more and more rounds of layoffs, as if they're repainting the corporate HQ's hallway or something benign like that, yeah, I'm kind of frustrated. Because that $23 billion they make every quarter in net profit, which is about 92 a year in net profit, billion. They make that money and they expect us to believe that they need to lay off thousands of employees, uprooting their lives, hurting their families and communities as if it's necessary for the company not to sink to the bottom of the ocean like the Titanic. Total bullshit. It's exclusively for the purpose of maintaining their profit margins, nice fancy financial ratios that their board and their shareholders spend way too much time overanalyzing, when they should instead be focusing on the many areas of the company's operations that could use some improvement and attention. And they simply just don't care what happens to their employees when they make cuts here and there to keep their margins up and keep their ratios nice and perfect. Same story with Sony and every other big publicly traded company out there. It's anti-worker by design. None of them are better than the others, at least not significantly. They're all in one big club, a big, rich, douchebag country club, and we're not in it. We, the customers, and we, the employees, not that I'm a tech employee, but us, the working class, are not in that club. Despite that, it is good that these companies are coming apart. How, you might ask? Well, look at how much worse the gaming industry got as the big AAA players got more and more consolidated and more corporatized. Look at the microtransaction obsession of the 8th gen, the always online DRM trend that's gone worse and worse since the 8th gen. Every big single-player game from these big publishers turned from what used to be a curated, cultivated experience designed to be fun and immersive into a pay-to-win slopfest, with battle passes, premium editions, day one edition, early access editions, game of the year editions, extra skin and armor packs, etc. Look at all the unfinished games. Games now being treated as a big bloated software project, or product that's now being used by us, the customers, starting from launch day, to take the game from its obviously still in beta state of production to a finished product, maybe a year after the game's been out. Saves them a lot of money, because they don't have to pay for QA testing anymore. We do it for them for free. It's good that Xbox is falling apart. Now, Microsoft's not going down, but Xbox, different story. And Sony is soon to follow if they keep making decisions like they've been doing lately. And then, like, look at Ubisoft. They massively bet, hundreds of millions of dollars on that quadruple A piece of junk, Skull and Bones, that obviously there was no heart and soul in that thing, and no one wanted to play it. And some other bad bets, and yeah, now they're paying for it. Nintendo, by the way, is kind of a rare example of a company that size where the executives actually made personal sacrifices so they didn't have to lay off employees. They did that after the Wii U. And as a result of that kind of mindset, they've been a lot more consistent in the quality of their products. Now, I'm not into Nintendo. It doesn't do anything for me, really, but I can see that Nintendo's output has been a lot more consistent and higher quality for their fans than, Sony's and especially Microsoft's first-party lineup kind of going downhill overall. By the way, I do like a lot of Sony's newer games. It's just that there are fewer of them, and you can thank Jim Ryan and that live service push for that. Now, I'm arguing that this will in fact be good for gaming, and in fact has already started to be good for gaming. Look at what games have been the biggest success stories from the past few years. Just this year, 2026, I think you could agree that the big runaway hit that we've seen so far is Crimson Desert. It's a single-player RPG. It has some de novo bullshit in there, but regardless of that, it is very much a traditional, single-player, completed game experience made by Pearl Abyss, which is a South Korean company. They're not a subsidiary of a larger publisher, as far as I can tell. Last year, similarly, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, made by a smaller studio, really unique with its, kind of hyper-realism mechanics that most AAA publishers would never use because it's not, casual friendly enough. Hollow Knight Silksong, $20 indie side-scroller, that was hugely popular, made by an indie developer. By the way, I still need to play the original Hollow Knight. Actually, I haven't played any of these games. I need to catch up on that. And then on the multiplayer side last year, Arc Raiders was... I think it outdid Battlefield and was competitive with Call of Duty, and it was a smaller studio game, came out of nowhere and competed with the big players for a small fraction of the budget. 2024, right? Astro Bot was a game of the year, and it was kind of looked at as a return to form from Sony. Amid many failing live service projects, it was a concise, single-player, offline platformer game full of nostalgia, and yeah, game of the year. So, and then also in 24, some of the other biggest successes from Software's Elden Ring DLC, which I still need to go back and finish. They break all kinds of AAA gaming conventions. Maybe too many. I'd like it if they actually put a quest log and a pause function in their games, but despite that, they make really good stuff. Dark Souls will change your life. I don't need to tell you that, probably, but if you haven't played it and you want your life to be changed, play Dark Souls. And Black Myth Wukong, another, nobody studio, and they pretty much put China on the map as far as, having a game developer presence. So, I think those illustrate pretty well that already the AA, smaller studios and indie scene has already kind of been elevated as a result of consistent AAA failures. And yeah, let the big let the big players fall apart. They brought this on themselves. And don't worry, gaming is a lifestyle. For millions of people, maybe even billions now, gaming is a hobby that's never gonna go away. So, even though it's difficult to see a contraction, and it's hard for the developers who lost their jobs. Some of them have even had to switch careers, which is really sad. Ultimately, I think it is good that this contraction's happening because the bloated expansion that came before it, was destroying gaming. Now gaming can have a resurgence of creativity, talent, and fun that Sony, Microsoft, EA, Ubisoft, they just don't see it in their bottom line anymore. So, those are my thoughts on why we shouldn't worry about the gaming crash. It's kind of like it's like a forest fire that's necessary to get the pine cones to open up and new seeds can drop. We gotta, like, it's gotta happen and it'll ultimately be good. So, anyways, tell me what you think. Do you agree, disagree? And fuck Sony, physical media forever. By the way, don't let up on that. Tell Sony what you think about their decision to discontinue making physical games. I'm not gonna get a PS6. And I might cancel my PlayStation Plus as well, but see what you can do to speak up about that. Anyways, happy gaming, till next time.